All right, so we're going to be graphing with multiple representations. So if you previously remember, we've learned how to graph from an equation, we've learned how to graph from a table, we've learned how to find the slope of all three, and even from 2 points. So what we're going to do is now put them all together. So looking at our trip to the zoo, did you know this zoo charges $4 for an admission fee and charges $2 for each exhibit that we visit? So if you remember, y equals, if I'm going to write an equation, mx plus b, where m is my slope and b is my y-intercept. So what number is going to be my slope? Well, what is something that is getting charged each time or every hour or anything like that, remember? So it's going to be $2. They're charging me $2 per exhibit. And it's going to be a $4 admission fee. So that's a one-time fee. I just need to pay $4 just to get into the zoo. So initial value is also, if you remember from your notes, another word for y-intercept, which was our 4. And remember rate of change, which is slope, something that's constantly changing at a constant rate of change, which is going to be 2. So now let's fill in the table. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take these numbers 1, 2, let's do 3 and 4. I'm going to take each of those numbers and I'm going to plug in 0 for x. So I have y equals 2 times 0 plus 4. Anything times 0 is 0. 0 plus 4 is 4. I also know that because my y-intercept is also 4. I'm going to try the next one, and now I'm going to multiply 2 times 1 because I'm trying to find my x, plus 4. 2 times 1 is 2, plus my 4. If I went to one exhibit, it's going to cost me $6. Now if I wanted to visit 2 exhibits, I would just plug in 2 for x. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 4 is going to cost me $8 to get to 2 exhibits. As you can see, there's a pattern growing. 4 to 6 is plus 2. 6 to 8 is plus 2. This is going to continue on because my slope is 2 over 1. So 8 plus 2 is 10. And then 10 plus 2 is 12. On my x-axis, it's increasing by a 1. So that's where we get our slope. Remember, it's rise over run. So if I am increasing by 2 over 1, my slope is 2, which we've discovered up there. So now I can easily graph it without the table. So remember, my equation is y equals 2x plus 4. If I don't go to any exhibits, it's going to cost me $4. So it's 0, 4, we're going to put a dot. Because remember, x is our number of exhibits, y is the total cost. So my next point is going to be 1 and 6. So now I have 1, 6. Now I'm going to show you this cool trick. I already know what my first point is. So let me fix my first point real quick. I know that my y-intercept is 4. So that tells me on my y-axis, I'm going to start at 4. If you see that our slope is a 2, right? That means from that point, I'm going to rise 2 and run 1 and put a dot. If I do it again, I'm going to rise 1 from that new point, rise 2, run 1, make a dot. rise 1, 2, over 1. Up 2, over 1. And if I keep doing this, I'm going to do it all the way to the edge of my graph. That's as far as I can go. And so now I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to line them up. Oops. And now I'm going to draw a line, connecting all of the points. And now draw an arrow at the end of your graph to show that it's going to increase forever and ever and ever. I could go to 562 exhibits and I can figure out the cost now. So let's do the next one together. So my next problem is gas mileage. It says your car has blank gallons of gas. You use up 1 gallon for every blank miles that you travel. So if I'm traveling 1, I use up, which means a negative. I'm using up my money, right? Which one is my slope? Well, negative 1 over 20 is my slope. So if for every 1 gallon of gas, I can travel 20 miles. How many gallons of gas does my car start with? Well, remember the y-intercept is the initial value where I'm going to start. So I only have 10 gallons of gas in my car. How sad. So my initial value, which is my y-intercept, is 10. My rate of change, remember that's your slope. Another word for slope. We're trying to build your vocab so that way when you look at problems like on tests and it says what is m equal or rate of change or what is my slope, you can easily go, that's slope. Duh. So my slope or my rate of change is negative 1 over 20. Okay. So we're gonna not do the table values. We're gonna go based off this equation and take a leap. Okay, we know our equation is y equals negative 1 over 20x plus 10. How we're going to start this equation is you always start with the y-intercept, my starting point. So my y-intercept tells me I need to start at 0, 10 because it's on the y-axis and I'm not moving anywhere from my x's. So I'm going to go all the way up from 0 to 10 and put a dot. If it helps, the y-intercept is always 0 and then the y-intercept, whatever the number is. All right, so my slope is negative 1 over 20. So that means I'm going to go down 1. I'm going to rise down. And I'm going to travel over 20. So I'm rising negative 1, running 20. If you look at the increments, look, they're counting by tens. So be careful. So I'm going to rise down 1 and run 20 and put a dot. Rise down 1 again and run 20. Now when you're creating the graph, these little steps that I'm creating, remember you're going to have to erase them later because we want a clear straight line, right? So now I'm going to line up all of my points. I'm going to draw a straight line all the way down and put an arrow. So now I can clearly see at 0, it's going to be 10. At 20, it's going to be 9. At 40 miles, I'm going to have 8 gallons of gas left. At 60, I'm going to have 7 miles of gallons left. And at 80 miles that I've traveled, I will have 6 gallons of gas left. Let's move to the last one before you start your checkpoint. So, you're hosting a party at a restaurant. You made blank dollars to rent it and blank per guest. I'm not giving the equation. I'm not giving any parts of the story. I'm just giving a table of values. So let's look at the values. I can't figure it out. What the heck? Remember, you can. We can take 2 points and subtract them from each other and figure it out. Remember y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1? Yeah. So I'm going to choose this is my first set of points. And this is my second set of points. So this is my y2 and y1, or sorry, x1, 2, sorry, and x1, y1. So I'm going to take 225, 225 and subtract it from 180. Then I'm going to take 9 and subtract it from a 6. 125 minus 180 is 45. 9 minus 6 is what? 3. Now, can I take 45 and divide it by 3? Absolutely. What I'm going to get is 15. So this number right here is what my slope is. So I have a slope of 15. So now up here, I can say it's $15 per guest because a slope is always something per or constantly increasing or the rate of change increasing. So my rate of change, remember, is slope. That's going to be 15. Well, how the heck am I supposed to figure out the rest of my equation? Now I have 15x plus b. What the heck? Guess what? You can figure it out. Just plug in what you know. We're going to choose one of the points, and we're going to have... Oh, interesting. Look. We don't even have to plug in the points. I have a y-intercept, and it's very clear. When x is 0, that tells me what my y-intercept is. So can you guess what my y-intercept is by looking at the table? 90. So I have y equals 15x plus 90. Because when x is 0, this is my y-intercept, whatever that number is. So my initial value, or my y-intercept, is 90. So I had to pay $90 to rent the place. Oof. That's okay. No worries. So let's start graphing it. Remember, I have y equals 15x plus 90. So I'm initially starting at 0, 90. Okay. If I have 3 guests, what's 15 times 3? 45. 45 plus 90 is going to give me 135. So at 3, it's going to be 135, which is kind of hard to tell where those are. So let's plot the ones we do know. 6, 180. And 9, 225. Oops. Just going to be about right there. And then we can figure out 12. What's 15 times 12? 180 plus 90, because that's how much it's just going to be to even rent the place, is 270. So now we filled out our table. And it looks great. So now that I have a few points, I can graph it. Oops. I can graph it, and it's just going to be a lot easier to graph with those 3 points that I can clearly see what they are based on the table and based on just looking at it. So we're going to draw our line, our graph, and remember, don't forget the arrow at the end. Okay, make sure you email us about questions or anything that you have problems with. Now go and do your checkpoint 4. Find that slope.